Well, hi there, and welcome to our continuing countdown to the bar exam. We're in about 25 days until the test as I'm recording today. And this is an interesting time for people who are preparing for the exam because at this point, I normally see students beginning to try and map out just how they're going to get through the next 3 weeks or so, how they're going to get to the exam date itself. And so today I want to talk a little bit about maps. Now, today we all have nice GPS systems built into our car through Apple Play or Android. And those systems can be pretty stern with you about what you should or shouldn't do as you're driving. In fact, if you have a system like mine, it says you must turn here, turn left here, turn right here. And sometimes that voice is so annoying that I just turn it off because it's so insistent that there's a particular place that you have to turn or go to or whatever. I imagine that most of you that have used GPS for any period of time have had the same experience I have, where you're driving along and the system says, turn left here or follow this road, but there's no place to turn. Now, that doesn't happen so often today as it used to, but still it's enough to be concerning and annoying. There's just no road there. If I turn left, I'm going to go in the water or in somebody's front yard, whatever that might be. And that can obviously be a real problem if you just blindly follow those instructions. Now, many years ago, a man by the name of Bill Harris, who was the creator of the Holosync audio meditation system, had a wonderful video that he made, and he titled that, "The Map is Not the Territory." I did a video using that same title, and it was incredibly popular. And so I'm re-recording that message today. But I think about Bill when he said the map is not the territory. And when I first heard him say it, I thought, what does he mean by that? What's it really about? Well, it occurred to me that what he was really trying to get through to his listeners was that this was the same thing that I was experiencing in my car. And that was that the map or the GPS system is only a representation of a reality, but it's not the reality. It's not really the territory or the terrain or the roads. It's just a digital representation of it. So what's the connection to the bar exam and your studies right now? There are a number of ways in which we could talk about the map not being the territory. Certainly for a lot of people emotionally, that would be true. They create a roadmap of what they think is going to happen in the bar exam, but it's not the reality. People that say, for example, I have to know everything in order to pass. And so they set up a mental map in order to learn everything in order to be successful. In point of fact, after 30 plus years of teaching the bar, I know you don't have to know everything. That's never been the case, and therefore that's an incorrect or an inefficient map. But if you tried to follow that map that says I have to know everything, you would focus and go in one direction in terms of your studies for the next 25 days. But I would suggest to you that that's not the correct way to travel. What other kinds of maps might you have? One map at this point might be the map that says, I'm not successful at the things I do. I've had all kinds of problems on the bar exam before. I'm a failure. Now, that's certainly the case for a lot of the people that we work with in this course who come to us from other courses not having been successful. And a lot of those people have built-in mental maps about the test that tells them they won't be successful. And therefore, they do strange and frankly odd things in order to be successful on the exam. But I don't like to see that because, again, I think it draws people into two areas that could be different or problematic. One of those is manic behavior. People that try to write too many essays all at once or read too many outlines all at once or do too many questions without thinking and reflecting about them. Those people are operating with an inefficient or an incorrect map. And then there are people whose maps look so overwhelming to them that they think the only way to get to the bar exam with success is to have some sort of heroic Herculean kind of work effort. And they look at that map and they say, well, if that's what it takes, I can't do that. And so they literally fold their mental map up and put it away. And they either don't take the exam or they go in really with a self-defeated mindset. Neither of those is the right way to work. The best way to work at this point, I think, is to have an awareness that you have, and we all have, internal representations or maps. We have a way of seeing the world that may not necessarily be what the world is in reality. It's just our representation of it. In other words, people sometimes are surprised when they talk to me after having watched these videos or they've heard me and they say, I had thought you would be a certain way. And their internal representation is different than the reality that they experience. We see this all around us in our lives. We have these internal representations of what's going on in the world around us. And when we're suddenly confronted with a different reality, it can be jarring. I think a lot of bar takers create these internal representations of the test, things like the examiners hate me or they're out to get me. But here's a newsflash. They don't even know who you are. You're just a number on the page to them. It's not personal. But if you've made that internal representation and you're behaving based on that, you can see how much trouble you could get into. Following that particular mental map, you are metaphorically going to end up in somebody's front yard. I think the other kinds of internal representations that we make are the representations about our own abilities and skills. Often at this stage, people become frustrated because the test seems imminent. It is getting closer and closer, but your skills haven't quite caught up. We're still at a point where most people are not doing passing work, even at 25 days before the exam. Most people at this stage are not at a point when they're doing the quality work that they'll need at the very end. That will come with the final push that you get at the very end of your studies. But if your internal representation is that what you do on day 25 is what you're going to do on test day, I think you can see how you might be in a lot of trouble. So, having shown you this problem about the internal map, what's the solution? Well, the most obvious solution, I think, right now is to take a breath, step back, and recognize that whatever picture you're painting, whatever map you're making, whatever internal representations you've got, those are simply an avatar for the reality that's out there. And the reality might be quite different. At least consider that possibility. If you're someone that uses meditation or prayer or quiet reflection, this is a great opportunity for you to increase your own awareness of the world around you in order to increase your awareness of what's going on in reality, or the not me part of reality. The more you can become aware, the better it will be. The bar exam is an important test, but it's not an impossible test, and it's not a test that's designed to get you. No matter what you hear in some quarters, if you can reach an understanding and an awareness of those realities, you'll be so much better off when it comes time to take the test. But you're also going to be better off for the next 3 or 4 weeks as you prepare for the exam. So I want to encourage you to try and raise your level of awareness over these next few days about what's a map and what's reality. And the more you step back and ask yourself, is my current way of behaving and thinking about the exam real, or is it maybe just a representation of something that might not be real? And while I know that sounds a little Zen-like, I will tell you that the more that you can understand the distinction between the map and the reality, the better your studies will be and the less stressed you'll be, and the more effective you'll be on test day. I've seen that happen over and over again. So make a point over these next few days to really think about what's real and what's just a representation, and then work on the reality. I'll see you again in a few days.